Videos by Ramon number 5. How to build a 30 by 30 pillar on the corner between two 15 mm hollow brick walls with 6 holes in mortar. Video created and owned by Ramon Garda and Per Albanil. First Officer, Construction Technician, member of the National Network of Construction Masters, year 2024. Video number 5 of my construction videos collection 08328 Alenia, Barcelona, Catalonia, Spain. Step by step, take a brick and divide it into 4 parts. Those 4 parts represent 4 quarters. One would be a quarter, and what's left of a quarter is 3 quarters. What I'm holding with my hand is 3 quarters, that is, to order it. That is, 3 quarters and a quarter of brick. That's what's needed to make what is the pillar on a corner of a wall where the 2 walls meet. When we don't have a cutting machine to make these quarters. So, whatever, we can open a piece of brick from end to end, as you can see, and then break it in half. This can be used as a quarter, which in this case would also be the 4 pieces. That's when we have a radial saw, because trying to do it as we first marked with the trowel is very difficult. Even many times when making this piece now that I'm going to do, sometimes it also breaks badly. We're not always lucky enough to break it well like this. So this piece, laying it out like this is like a quarter, as you can see right here. There it is. Now, when cutting it in half, there's always a bigger one left, which is the mortar joint when 2 pieces are put together. So now what I do is trim it so that it's the same size as the previous one so that they're both the same, otherwise they would come out on the sides. Okay, now it's ready, and now what I'm going to do to start with the pillar is to wet the tiles. You can wet them with a container, or you can also pour water on them. This way you save water and you also avoid making a lot of mess with water on the floor. That's when you're doing small renovations. You can do it like this. It's not like a big job. When it's a very large job, then what you do is wet them with a hose in advance, and then the worker or laborer can grab them directly from the pile. Then it's just a matter of taking them out so that they go well, using up the water, and now I'm already filling in 3 quarters. Now, to start, to mark and stake out the wall, I'm putting down 2 rulers and a square. And I'm also putting down a waterproof sheet, which is what you have to get used to doing to prevent water from seeping in, from any humidity that may come up from the subsoil. Okay, first, whenever you start the pillar, you have to start with a 3 quarter. Pay close attention, a 3 quarter. Then a whole one forming what is the width of the 30 centimeters, the 30, which in this case are 29 or 28. 29 is because there are 28 of joints, the 29. When placing them like this with their blow on top and now with a tile, what I look for is the same width or the column that is as wide as the tile. Many times it is not necessary to do this because it is the inside part, but anyway, it does not cost anything. To do the job, then take the tile or the piece and place it and face it. Yes, well grouted. And now next another hole 1. Like this, joining the tip of the tile, rubbing it forward and backward. The same as if you were putting up a normal 15 wall. Those pillars in the corner are made to reinforce the wall itself, and so it also works well crossing it, because that way it is stronger. It is a system of doing it that can be done like this, or it can be done in a crossed way, but what is important is to know the combination of this pillar, so that it has a good ligament, so that it joins well with the other walls. Now here on the right there will be a quarter, on the left, and then a hole 1. Now the mortar is spread like all the others on the head, and that way you avoid putting a lot of mortar in the joint. Yes, well grouted, always trying to keep it well. And now next to hole 1. In principle we already have the first row already formed, because then the piece or the normal brick can follow. That is the name we call it, the brick. Perhaps in other countries it is said in another way, or it can also be called hollow brick. Okay, now I'm going to put another whole piece on the tip, because if I don't put more, then I wouldn't be able to put up the rows that I want to put up so that you can see it well, to appreciate what the pillar is. Note that now I'm finishing the mortar of the drawer or the trough, and I already have a bucket or kettle behind me to be able to pour it. Whenever you go up a wall, you have to try to have the mortar stored or close by. Or you have to have it as close at hand as possible. I also have the plumb line there to one side. Here I'll also put another whole piece because, as you can see, in the end I'll go up in steps, and when it's a continuation of a wall, it's always good to go by the halves, that is, that the other row ends with half of this piece. As they say, it's killing together, and it's always good to have half of the piece. Okay, now that I've done it, I've already done the layout. I'm going to take out the rules. I'm going to collect the mortar properly. That has been left between the ruler and the ceramic piece, the tile, which is what we call the gap, which in this case I am not going to put the string here because it is simply a demonstration, and when I pick it up, I will go over it in case there are any loose joints. Note that I have the habit of passing what is called the trowel over the joint. Now here it is time to put a 3/4. Because by putting 3/4, I kill the joint, which leaves a joint of 7.5 or 7, since we have the 7 of the quarter. It will end up halfway through the tile, that is the one that continues. the continuous one that is whole. Now here it is whole, but note that as I mark with the trowel it will end up halfway through the tile that is put in whole. So, by hitting the tile back and forth on top, the excess mortar protrudes and this way the whole row is solid. Remember that you have to wet the work well first, because if not, it will absorb the water from the mortar and the entire piece won't have time to set. It's important to wet it before placing it. If possible, in advance, all the better. And now I'm putting the piece in place as a whole. I'm going to put it in place and it will be a whole piece. In other words, even the inside part is how it stays together. That's how the whole corner works together. I'm also checking to make sure that the gap is the same when grouted properly. And now here will go a quarter, which is the same as we see in this part here that is visible, where you can see 2 blocks at the top and then you can see the quarter. It's the same operation. And now here goes a 3/4, which repeats the same as in the row below, not the continuous one, but the one underneath. It's always one yes and one no, the same. Now here next to it will go a whole piece. I'll check the plumb line first. Check it well because the most important thing is that everything is plumb. And when grouting, it's a matter of covering all the holes and pressing the mortar into the joint. Now, here, as I said before, the bottom row is the same as the first one. In other words, rows 1, 3, and 5 should always be the same. And rows 2 and 3 are the same? No, sorry, 2 and 4. I also like the mortar to look tight and give the wall a different shape. Now, here on the side where I collect the mortar, a quarter will go. As I said, now it's a matter of applying a quarter well spread, making sure it's solid, not solid in the holes, no, but filling the entire joint well. And it's completely solid, as I'm already showing that they're half brick and half brick. Now I'm going to put in a couple of hole ones, using the trowel to smooth out the mortar so that it doesn't stick out as much and is more solid. That way, as I press it in, it sticks out. If I didn't put these, I wouldn't be able to finish the corner up top so that the entire process of joining the 15 cm walls with the 30 cm pillar can be clearly demonstrated. Now, what I'm going to put first is a 3/4 on top of what is the column because, as you can see, in the second row and the fourth row, it has to be the same as the second. I've already taken the piece, which is a 3/4. Having the radial saw works very well because the pieces are cut well. When you don't have one, you can use the trowel, and it doesn't always come out as perfect as it does now. It's not always available, but you also have to know how to cut it with the trowel. I'll check the scribing. Now I'll put the whole thing in.
This is a secret.
It's all the same process, but you always have to keep in mind that you have to repeat the rows. I can't stop saying it because from experience I know that many times people get distracted and don't Now it belongs to a 3/4 in the opposite direction. Just like the third row, the fifth one goes. In case I had to go up a lot on this wall, what I would do is put a ruler on the collar, a ruler in the same corner, but it's simply a demonstration to know the combination that the pieces have to be put in to make a good union between the walls and the pillar. And by putting the ruler in, you save yourself from having to use a plumb line. And it's even more useful for tying the rope or string to continue the high wall. Okay, the joints are well filled, which is the whole process to follow. Then, a quarter will go on. Sometimes, if you can't break the bricks as I indicated before, I'll open them from end to end. You can also put a piece of solid brick. Now I'll put a third quarter and notice that the entire continuation of the wall is left with half bricks, which is how it has to be done to fill the joint correctly. Fill it together or break the joint. Well, now, as you can see, it's ready to continue everything in good proportion, covering all the holes. Then, when it's time to plaster, those holes can be covered first, make the list and coat it over. Well, now we have the wall done. Here is this image, this other image. And now you will see another one inside and you will see everything that is the way of stacking.
¿Estás buscando un coche de segunda mano? Autogiro tiene las mejores ofertas.